This is an Imperial knife from Schrade, and it's the IMP 22. Let's take a closer look. So it came well wrapped up, and this is it here. Starting with the handle, you can see that it's black acrylic with brass liners, and the fit and finish isn't too bad at all. This is my first Imperial, and just a quick check of the blade. It's not well centered, but for a knife that only cost me £9.95, or the equivalent of about $10, it's not too bad. And although it's not well centered, it's not rubbing, which is fine. And to be honest, that's to be expected, that for something this cheap and that's just pinned, it's not screwed in place. It's not surprising that it might be a little bit off center. But as I say, there's no blade rub there at all. So it's a nice chunky feel to it. In my hand, it's not too large at all. Closed, it's about 90 millimeters or 3.5 inches. And then open, and it has a nice walk and talk. Open, this is 6.5 inches or 165 millimeters. So looking at the blade here, you can see that it's a drop point. It's not badly ground at all, actually. If you look at it, there are a couple of low spots, but not bad at all. You can see the tang stamp. On this side, it's got the pattern, the IMP22, and you can see the Imperial stamp there. I actually really like this. It's a flat grind and a drop point. Just checking out how sharp it is. Now, the tip is quite sharp. If you've seen my short on this, I managed to cut myself slightly with it when I was just checking the walk and talk. But it's come to me nice and sharp directly from the manufacturer. So with the blade open, now the blade length is just under 3 inches or 72 millimeters. So it is UK legal. If you look at the thickness is about 2 millimeters, which is a decent thickness actually. It's got a nice feel to it. There's a little bit of blade play, but not much. It's got a nice solid feel. It's a good 4-finger knife, so it makes a good slicer. It's a good workman's knife, this. As it's cheap, you don't mind if it gets knocked around a bit. Now the blade steel, I've tried looking this up, and I get 3 different answers for this. So on some sites it's saying that it's 400 stainless. On others it's saying that it's 3 CR13 MOV, or that it's 7 CR17. So either of them is a fairly basic stainless, not too hard, but that should mean that it's going to be relatively easy to keep sharpened. So the way I use knives, and because I'm not too bad at sharpening them, I'd rather have one that's easier to sharpen than one that's too hard. I think you can see it here. It's got a nice satin finish on the blade. So this is made in China, and I think the quality is not too bad for this, for the price point. I think it's excellent. Now, I'll try and do the walk and talk without cutting myself this time, but it's got quite a nice snap to it. The pull is probably about a 6, and it's got a decent spring, a decent back spring that's going to keep it closed. There's a little bit of a choil here that you can get your finger under, so it's less likely to close on your finger. It's got a decent nail nick, and if ladies want this, or for somebody without fingernails, you can open it without using the nail nick. Just to compare it, in size, looking at it compared to my Opinel No7, the inox, you can see the two together. The No7 is slightly bigger, the blade, but I would say the blade was thinner than this, and it's got a less substantial feel about it. So considering that this Imperial Sodbuster is cheaper than the Opinel, I think it's actually better quality as well. It doesn't have the lock, but the benefit there is that it's UK legal. I know which one I'd pick, and it's not the Opinel. So that's the Imperial Sodbuster. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your views on it. I think you can get this in a yellow colour as well. I got this from Heine Haynes. I'm sure you can check it out if you're in the UK. If you're in the US, then these are fairly easily available. And I think it's a good, solid, good value, cheap knife.
If you haven't already, why not subscribe? It really helps me to know that I'm making the right sort of content.